Write each equation in standard form shown below. Our textbook refers to the standard form for the equation of a parabola as y equals a times the square of x minus h plus k, or x equals a times the square of y minus k plus h. Other sources refer to this as vertex form, and the equations I've included below as the standard form for the equation of a parabola. Either way, using the language from our textbook, we want to write the given equations in one of these first two forms. Looking at number 1, because we have x squared in the equation, we want to write the equation in the form of y equals a times the square of x minus h plus k. So starting with number 1, we will begin by factoring negative 2 from the x squared and x terms. This gives us y equals negative 2. Now factoring negative 2 from just negative 2x squared minus 12x, we're left with x squared and then plus 6x. Notice if we distribute, we still have negative 2x squared minus 12x. We're going to complete the square in this, so we'll leave the space and write a closed parenthesis, and then we still have plus 16 outside the parentheses. And now again, we want to complete the square on x squared plus 6x. Recall, to do this, we need to add the square of half of 6. Well, if we square half of 6, we have the square of 3, which is equal to 9. We add 9 inside the parentheses to complete the square. But notice when we distribute, by adding 9, we actually subtracted 18 and changed the equation. So now we need to undo subtracting 18 by adding 18 on the same side. Again, by putting a 9 inside the parentheses, we really subtracted 18, and then to undo minus 18, we added 18 to the same side of the equation. And now we need to factor the trinomial and combine like terms. We have y equals negative 2. To factor the trinomial, we will have two binomial factors, which should be the same two factors, and then 16 plus 18 is plus 34. And now factoring, because the first term inside the parentheses is x squared, we have an x and an x in the first positions. We want the factors of positive 9 that add to positive 6, which are 3 and 3, giving us two factors of x plus 3. And now to write the equation in the correct form, because we have two factors of x plus 3, we have the square of x plus 3. We can write the equation as y equals negative 2 times the square of x plus 3 plus 34. Now that we have it in this form, we can tell a lot about the graph of the parabola. Because the x part is being squared, we have a vertical axis of symmetry, which means the parabola will open up or down. Because a is negative, we now know the parabola opens down, so the parabola would look something like this. And the vertex is h comma k. Let's also determine the vertex. Looking at the form of the equation, because we have the square of x plus 3, and x plus 3 is equivalent to x minus negative 3, h equals negative 3, which is the x-coordinate of the vertex. And because you have plus 34 on the end, k is positive 34, which is the y-coordinate of the vertex. So again, by having the equation in this form, we know the parabola opens down and has a vertex of negative 3 comma 34. And now let's look at number 2. Notice for number 2, the y part is being squared. We want to write number 2 in the form of x equals a times the square of y minus k plus h. To begin, we will factor 3 from just the y squared and y terms. We have x equals, and now again factoring 3 from 3y squared minus 24y, we have 3 times the quantity y squared minus 8y, leave some space and then a closed parenthesis, and we still have minus 45 on the right. And now I complete the square on y squared minus 8y, which means we now need to add the square of half of negative 8. The square of negative 8 divided by 2 is the square of negative 4, which is 16. We add 16 to complete the square inside the parentheses. But by adding 16 here, if we distribute the 3 times 16 is 48, we actually added 48, and therefore to not change the equation, we now must subtract 48. So go ahead and subtract 48 on the right. And now let's go ahead and factor and simplify. We have x equals 3, and then to factor the trinomial we'll have two binomial factors. And at negative 45 minus 48 is negative 93, giving us minus 93. And then factoring y squared minus 8y plus 16, we have y's in the first positions. And now we want the factors of 16 to add to negative 8, which are negative 4 and negative 4. Whenever completing the square, we should always have two equal binomial factors. And now to write the equation in the final form, we have x equals 3 times the square of y minus 4 minus 93. Now that we have the equation in this form, because the y part is being squared, we know we have a horizontal axis of symmetry, which means the parabola opens right or left, but we also know a is positive, and therefore the parabola will open toward the right. And then finally the vertex is h comma k. Because we have minus 93 on the end, h is negative 93, which is the x-coordinate of the vertex. And because we have the square of y minus 4, notice k is 4, the y-coordinate of the vertex is positive 4. I hope you found this helpful.